Sorry, in terms of the programs which you have, one is on infrastructure, one is about empowering the citizen, and then the third one was about providing citizen services on demand. On the infrastructure side, I have two suggestions. One is about last mile access, and one of the technologies which Microsoft has actually deployed in other parts of the world, including in our campus at Redmond, is something which we call Wi-Fi technology. It's dynamic spectrum. It uses the TV white spaces in between TV channels, and it can actually reach distances of over 10 kilometers, which means that where your national optical fiber link ends, you could actually set up routers which have a distance, which can cover up to 10 kilometers. And you can use standard off-the-shelf devices to connect to that. So you could have a self-help group, women's group, you could have a Kirana store, you could have a cafe coffee day, you could have a bank or a post office actually setting up a router and providing free access. So there are solutions like this which I think would make it a lot better. This is emerging technology, so we could build an ecosystem around that. We could manufacture products built on this. We could therefore create the Internet of Things in rural areas based on this. So the advantage which we get as a country is that we could become the leaders on a technology which is just about evolving. And it does require some policy and regulatory requirements, but those are things which are easily handled. The second, I think, is, again, part of your program where you talked about digital identity. And we felt that, again, there is something where India's, one of our biggest assets is really the Aadhaar. The opportunity to take Aadhaar, which is a physical identity, and convert it into a digital identity is huge, where it can be used not just for accessing services, but to really show the person who he is. The problem with the internet is that everybody, you can be anonymous. It's like the US Marines, be what you want to be. And sometimes it's not what everybody else expects. But if you have a digital identity linked to your Aadhaar, then you could actually give people the digital locker. They could keep all their certificates from birth to death, and then they could actually then share it depending upon the application, the service, or whoever else they wanted it. The second is in the...
Sorry, can I interrupt you a little bit, just given the time?
Sure.
I'm going to have them talk as well and give the minister a chance to...
I'll come back on the other two areas for some other suggestions.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I will be exceptionally brief. My name's Adair Fox-Martin, and I have the pleasure of running SAP for Asia-Pacific Japan, and have been a frequent visitor and active in India for 15, 16 years now, so I have seen a lot of change over the time. When I think of the concept of digital India, what I think of, or what comes forward most to mind, is a quotation from Leonardo da Vinci, where he said, "Simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication." And when we're really talking about including and empowering people, it's making the services, the applications, the access so easy and so simple to consume that it almost addresses the problem that my colleague raised over here. So when you talked about your 3 S's, I'd love to add the word simplify and create a 4th S there, because really for me, simplification and the battle against complexity is probably one of the most pervasive battles of our time.
I'm Deb Roy. I'm Chief Media Scientist at Twitter and on the faculty at MIT, at the MIT Media Lab. Recently, Twitter and MIT came together and formed a new laboratory for social machines, which I direct. Taking the perspective that we see through Twitter as an example of the power of digital networks and decentralized groups of people who can now express their opinions and lead to real social change, to lead to behavior change, as Amit referred to, which is a hard thing to do. What we see is decentralized networks leveraging the internet tend today to lead to more ad hoc and disruptive kinds of social change. When you have protests, for example, which can happen in a moment, that is the current trend, and we see a real potential to leverage this new social energy that's being released through decentralized networks and learn how to design systems that channel that energy for, rather than ad hoc and disruptive energy, instead move towards systematic, constructive social change. And just to give you one example of how we see some of these ideas coming together in a context of Digital India in a rural setting, the idea that you have networks of children who have access to smartphones and the services, the content for learning, but combine that with the social network that surrounds that child, the teacher, the parents, the coaches, all of whom have digital touch points. The opportunity to create deep transformation is that we can not only deliver the services, but also map the communication and social interaction between all of that ecosystem around the child. And map, first of all, the kind of structure and dynamics that are actually at play in a way that we just can't see. There's sort of a new microscope being built as we speak to see those dynamics. And then with appropriate theories of change, actually go and design shifts in these coupled systems and diagnose where the theory of change is failing and go and intervene with a kind of efficiency and scale that is just never been possible before. So there's huge opportunities, and I think that really, India can be the place that shows the way for how to make that happen at a scale that will have global implications. So I'm very excited about that idea.
So we have been running our own Twitter experiment before this meeting, and so I'm going to put one question which I think is in a way a summary of many of the things were said that I think many people here in the room were interested in. You have come to power with a very different view of the role of the government, and one of the things that is especially true for the sector we are talking about, there's a huge role of the government. There's regulation, there are other issues. So from your point of view, do you think of that if you had to divide the world up in three buckets, as in what are the things that you visualize only the government doing, what are the things that would be in the bucket of PPP kind of models, and what is really open field for private? And this has been one of those squishy areas, and this applies to everything, right? Which services do you see largely being provided by the government, and so on?
Very quickly, I think I have 7-8 minutes.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for the kind words. Digital India is not only a government program, Government of India's program. We have to work with the state governments. We have to work with private players. And we are open to suggestions 24/7 for improving it. The first thing I would like to tell you. And this government is working with an open, very mindset. And the Prime Minister's key word always is, outcome is more important. This is how we are going. We changed the duty structure within a fortnight. Exactly. Once I heard about it, in the budget you saw that. In the last about 35 years, for the first time electronic goods got so much of support. I think in the whole discussion what we are missing is the innovative idea of Indians. And let me give you two instances. The smartphone is rising in India by 45%. The highest growth outside USA, for your kind information. Just two quick, very earthy examples. One of my professional juniors always gets her supply of food grains from her village home in Madhya Pradesh. She likes the pulse and the wheat there. One day, her grocery shop owner in a remote Mufassil town got it loaded on the goods train, used the WhatsApp, sent the receipt photocopy on her mobile phone, the exact wagon number, the station at which it would reach in Delhi on what date at what time, his whole bank account number for electronic transfer. And she was amazed. He has never been taught about anything electronic. But he picked up the need to employ that technology for his business. The second is more fascinating. Rajat Sharma, the famous TV personality, I had gone to have the Aaj Tak program, famous program, people come and ask questions. We were having lunch. He said interesting thing for you to know. That whenever he used to return from his studio, his servant was found to be sitting on a particular motorcycle before a particular house playing with his smartphone. On the third day, he asked his wife, why the hell he always sits there? He said, very simply, the Wi-Fi connection in front of the house is the best. And he uses that to save Brazil football. That is India. Therefore, Indians are prone to use technology. You only create the enabling atmosphere. You don't have to have much of education for that. That is a big assurance for India. On the farm sector, you have a point. We need to work more. We can learn from your experience. As far as your query is concerned, I see very powerful role for private players in the distribution network. For instance, once the broadband area is in place, the huge market of India, and the rural market is rising very fast. E-education, e-health, e-commerce, e-retail, all are going to come in a very big way. Distribution of broadband in the urban area and the rural area. I have asked my officers to work out a very proactive platform as to how to virtual internet can become a reality as far as distribution is concerned. There are big ISPs are there are big service providers are there. How can we have a virtual operator who can take small broadband and distribute it in a cluster of areas?
Yeah.
And I have asked the TRI to finalize the whole guidelines in that. The larger issue I would like to highlight, it is a very proactive government. And yes, the brief of the Prime Minister to me is what? I want government available on my mobile phone. I think that is a mission statement. And we have got a mobile Seva facility where I am told nearly 360 facilities are available. Election Commission, where you are registered as a voter, you can click, you can get that pull information and push information. From railway ticketing to air ticketing to so long, all are available. This whole disaster management information is being done through mobile phone in a very big way. Now, once broadband becomes a reality, a whole range of canvas opens up for business, for retail, for involvement of private sector, and newer forms of PPP model. Your point on simplification and sophistication is well taken. But my take of India is a little different. And this take I always acquired after watching India as a political activist from my student days. And India is a place where rocket science will work and Jugaad technology will work side by side. Okay? Where 4G will work and the simplest mobile, where I can only give a missed call and SMS, will also work. India cannot be segregated, but allow Indians to play with their technology, give an enabling atmosphere, and they will go for a smartphone in a very big way. I think this mindset of Indians must be kept in view when you design the policy. Yes, a regulatory measure should be as free as possible, and today I want to inform you that I have already constituted a committee, which I said in my initial comment, headed by the Secretary Telecom. Talk to the stakeholders. Ease of doing business must be also replicated in my department. And whether you need to revisit the guideline, do visit. And I think this is a statement I'm making when I'm the Minister for Telecom. I'm not only the Minister for BSNL and MTNL, I'm the Minister of the sector. The sector needs to grow.
Yeah.
The same I have for IT also. The sector needs to grow. And when I go abroad and see great interest of big manufacturers to come in India, I think this is a very big opportunity. As for the Twitter part is concerned, some of the sensitive information, that is a question. India firmly believes in freedom of expression, freedom of press. But it's a big India, it's a diverse India. And we have got fundamental right of speech, but that is subject to reasonable restrictions. So while permitting complete flow of information, stakeholders like you have to take those concerns on board, that while exercising that right, we don't allow terrorists to spread their own message, allow riotous-like situation to happen in India. How can that be done? I don't see much of role of the government, because I am a great supporter of the freedom of the press and the freedom of expression. But you as the big operator have to take that factor into account as to how it can be handled. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my concluding remark is only this. I am greatly honored to come in this very extraordinary economic summit by the World Economic Forum in conjunction with CII. Feel free to give me suggestions. We have to make Digital India a great success. I am appealing to all of you. I am just a phone call away. If you feel that some concrete suggestions will improve Digital India implementation, I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. think I have your permission to leave. You can carry on. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. In parliamentary democracy, cabinet meeting is more important than India Economic Summit.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
So I think as a follow-up, we will do what we had originally planned, which is to have you talk about your experience as Digital India and farming, which seems like an intersection not made in heaven. Sure. So, can you elaborate and specifically around some of the examples you mentioned earlier on where you see it working, and the idea was how can some of these things scale up, right? While there are lots of interesting ideas, can they really have impact?
Sure. So first of all, very, very pleased to hear the Honorable Minister say that he's open to suggestions. So we were looking forward to, and I'll make sure that I get hold of the mobile number at some point. So yes, one of the challenges we have seen is the biggest challenge, in fact, has been how to institute behavioral change at scale. And let me give you some of the examples of what I mean by that. So another example, I was sitting in outside our stall in Nagpur. There was a big farmer mela, a farmer fair, and I was just deliberately standing outside, and there were farmers walking into our stall and looking at what kind of services we provide and information around market prices, weather, intelligence, advisory, everything that they need to know to improve their productivity, price realization, etc. So a farmer from a particular state walks in, and when he's coming out of the stall, I ask him, so do you know about this company? He says, yeah. Do you know what services we provide? Or they provide, pretending not to be from the company. He says, yeah, it's very good. This is, everything that I need to know. It helps me improve my productivity, etc. So I was sold from the info that he shared on my behalf about our company. And I said, do you use the service? He said, no, I don't. And I said, why don't you use it? Because you said that it is extremely beneficial. He says, no, I was using it in the past and I got some benefit. I made about 20,000 rupees more by realizing higher price, but then it wasn't really available close by. There wasn't easy access to this. And this is just one of the many, many examples that we encounter where, particularly for an application or a service that will run on the Digital India platform, which we call in RML parlance the vitamin applications. I'll explain how they differ from the antibiotic or killer applications. But what we have seen is that for an average farmer who's 51 years old, even in the very difficult subnormal monsoon season, when we are telling them to use mulching in a certain way, when we are asking them to do pitcher harvesting, when we are asking them to put certain drops of sodium carbonate to save water when it is likely to rain, all of that is directly going to impact his productivity. He will use water much, much better in a very, very difficult situation that the country encountered this year. It requires that gentlemen, and mostly gentlemen really, to change what they have been doing for decades and over generations. And it is very difficult to do it in a very short period of time. So there are two things that really impact that. One is, and if I may add to the list of S's, the fifth S that I would put is solutions. So you just can't put an IT app, or you can't just put the infrastructure. You need hyperlocal content. You need the service to support that. You need the right level of awareness. You need the right level of education. And then you need hand-holding over a period of time for the impact, for the solution to be really benefiting that individual. And the solutions which are vitamin in nature, by that I mean the impact of that and the benefit of that comes over a period of time. So it's not an antibiotic, it's not a Facebook or a WhatsApp that if I don't see it tonight or if I don't see the first thing in the morning, my life gets disrupted completely. It is something that I need to use consistently over a period of time, maybe over a couple of crop cycles, maybe over a few years before I realize that this is really, really beneficial. So this is the vitamin app. And a lot of what Digital India is trying to do with e-health, e-governance, e-education is of that nature. So it will require, first of all, complete solutions and a lot of time for people to embed these solutions in their behavior, in their daily routines, and which is a very different kettle of fish than just awareness and and providing things and leaving it in the hands of the individuals. So that's one aspect of solution, and the other is around scale. How do you get there? But I'll come to that later. Let me just leave it at that and then hear other news.
I was going to probe you a little bit on the second part of what you were saying, the innovation around last mile access. If you want to elaborate a little bit on.
So I talked about it. It's basically using this unused spectrum, which is in between TV channels. It's in the 200 to 600 megahertz range. Therefore, it gives you long distance capabilities. Our studies have shown 90% of that spectrum is unutilized in most big cities, and even more so in the rural areas, and therefore that's an opportunity. So I think last mile access is going to become critical. I also want to talk about innovation because the minister talked about innovation. And I think, sometimes we don't really need the latest technology to solve some, life-threatening problems. And I'll give an example of tuberculosis. TB, for example, you have to ensure that you continue to take your dosage. And if you don't, then it actually reduces the potency. Now, in India, Microsoft Research actually came out with a very innovative packaging, which when the person took his medicine, it actually exposed a number. You then dialed a 1-800 number, and with that number which you entered, and did what was called a missed call, the IVR system would record that dosage and that person had taken his medicine. If he didn't take his medicine and he didn't dial the number, then they would activate a healthcare person to go across and give him and tell them to basically take the medicine. So there are examples of this where even low-end technology can actually solve some of these different kinds of problems. We talked a lot about
Well, I'm absolutely delighted. It's a very big honor to receive this award. This industry, this media industry, has given me so much recognition, love, and affection over the last 19 years that I have been in the media industry. And I would like to accept this award on behalf of the very hardworking, passionate journalists, producers, content creators who have worked with me to make Times Now India's #1 channel for choice for the last 10 years. It's been an absolutely amazing journey with ups and downs, and I want to thank each one of you for your patience in me. I want to thank all of you from the media industry and my friends in the media industry for standing by me over the last 8 to 9 to 10 years that we built this brand. Because without your support, whatever we have achieved would not be possible. And without your support, whatever I seek to do in the world of television and digital news media in the future will not be possible. So thank you very, very much for this.